Are you looking for art that inspires and gives back? Check out Artery Inc., a Milwaukee-based, woman-owned company blending anatomical art with purpose. From tees to stickers, their designs celebrate the human body and support real causes. Right now, shop the End Violence in Healthcare campaign, made in partnership with PulseCheck Wisconsin. Proceeds help raise awareness and push for safer workplaces for healthcare workers. Visit arteryinc.com and wear your support with pride. That's arteryinc.com. Art, wellness, and action. Welcome to PulseCheck Wisconsin. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. This is Dr. Ford with PulseCheck Wisconsin. I want to thank you for joining us here again today. Today we have another special episode for you. We have with us Officer Carmichael Lewis. It's interesting how things work out. Carmichael and I went to high school together, and I hadn't seen him in probably about maybe 10 years or so. And I was recently back in Chicago for a family event, and just happened to run into him randomly at a coffee shop. It's crazy because I had been meaning to get him on the show, and I think we even spoke once on Instagram about getting him on and talking about some of his programs, and there he was. Carmichael has been a police officer for a number of years, as we get into in the interview, but I thought it'd be good for him to come on so we can talk about some of the achievements that he's had with his programs, and hopefully we can get something like that going here in the city of Milwaukee. So with that being said,
no matter what you did, you deserve a second chance.
Hey,
everybody up the hill.
Carmichael Lewis, Chicago PD's finest. He ain't no regular cop, he on divine assignment. I heard his testimony, it was quite surprising.
We got Carmichael Lewis here with us. He's a public safety professional, author, and entrepreneur, a youth mentor as well. And he's the founder of some programs that we're going to get into here that help young men reshape their futures. So with that being said, Carmichael, man, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Ford.
Yeah, man. Can you take us back to your youth? Tell me like where you came from, and we'll kind of parlay that into, you know, how you changed your trajectory into where you're at right now.
Sounds good. Raised on the south side of Chicago, Morgan Park community, none too short than anybody else in the Chicagoland area. Growing up, faced a little bit of adversity, but stay resilient. I'm here today just to give back to young people and give them the right direction and path.
So we talked a little bit beforehand about how you realized that you were on a certain trajectory, like when we were growing up, right? So Carmichael and I went to school together. We grew up together in high school, and you realized, you needed to make a change. You had to move yourself from, as you put it in your bio, from one of those kids with problems to someone that's determined to make a difference. What was that catalyst for you, that realization that you needed to change the direction you were going?
Really, the people I hung out with, I realized that the people I was hanging out with didn't match my future. My present didn't match my future because of the crowd I was hanging around with. So I had to stop hanging around with that crowd because it was sending me in the wrong direction. And that's why, to me, I believe in mentorship. Mentorship matters because I didn't have that direction. I didn't have that guiding light. I didn't have that person I can call to. So I kind of created those decisions.
Yeah, man. So yeah, like you said, it coming out of where we came from, bro. Like a lot of people that we came up with didn't make it, or they're in prison right now, right? And so that is the hardcore reality. We was talking about it on another episode that we had where we're talking about teenagers, right? So especially teenage boys growing up in rural locations, they're gonna do stupid stuff like we did, right? Like everybody does stupid stuff when you're a teenager because this is how you are. But for us, those stakes are higher. We ain't tipping over cows. It's different high stakes, and you end up in situations where, you may be 15, 16 years old, but you're doing stuff that could put you, behind bars for federal time, right? Or you may be out here losing your life, bro. So, we always want to make sure we put programs like yours out there. We always want to make sure that we gravitate towards these programs that we'll get into as well. So after that, you went into policing, man. What originally drew you to policing after having those interactions in the past?
I realized that growing up in Morgan Park community, I never saw Black and brown police officers.
Mm-mm.
And if you did see the police, it'd just be calls for service. They come on the call, they're riding by. And I'm like, what if we had that officer that will just come by and just check on your well-being, just see how you're doing, or give you direction or give you resources? I'm like, okay, what if I become that officer I needed growing up? What if I became that
Hmm.
officer I wish I would have saw? And I just became that.
Yeah. Yeah. And how long you been in policing now, man?
17 years. 17
Wow,
years I've
man.
been the police.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is there any moment in your career, and of course we'll get into, Youth in Blue United, but is there any moment in your career during, your police work that profoundly impacted you? Any of those moments that put you in that direction of, changing your view of the community of duty as well?
I think it goes back to those run-ins I had with law enforcement. It's like, I'm not trying to say law enforcement should do more or need to do more. Sometimes the police is only the only positive figure they will ever see. So what
Hmm.
if we can leave that person better than the way we found them? For example, when my interactions, like, I didn't have the resource. I didn't know the resources. I'm not telling them they should have gave me a resource. That's for my parents to do, right? Or for me to look
Right,
for
right.
it. But if I didn't have that direction or that guidance or that knowledge to know where to go, it could have just been something like, hey, you know what? Why don't you stop hanging with the wrong crowd? Here go a mentorship program
Hmm.
for you. Hey,
Hmm.
why don't you go? I see you keep hanging with this person because every time I come here, I see you here. Why don't you try to hang with someone else, someone different? You seem like a
Hmm.
good person. Why don't you, just kind of give you direction. So I believe that that's what kind of made me think about policing differently. I've called it policing with a passion.
Yeah. Yeah. We had a episode, Mariah the Weather Buki came on and she talked about some of the programs that she's doing here in Milwaukee. We got a big problem with reckless driving, right? And so she talked about her own personal experience. Her brother ended up dying in a reckless driving accident, and how traditionally, especially in our communities too, right? Like a lot of it is don't talk to the police, right? Like you can't trust them, you can't do X, Y, and Z. And so how she really flipped that 180 in her mind when she got to working with police officers, especially those that are invested like you, Carmichael, in the community, how those individuals are reaching out to the communities, providing those resources, giving that alternative view of the community as well to people who are coming up saying like, hey man, like these are other things you can look into if you're not getting that at home or if you're not getting that, from your friend group you're kicking it with. So, it's even more of a testimony to the work that you're doing and the work that people like you are doing that are wearing the badge, people that are in the community as well.
It's funny that you said that because when I first got on, you thinking that the uniform puts you in a position to be in charge, right? Or that you can get information from people. And no, that's not it. So I came in with a different mindset. So I had to realize that, wait, hold on, I have to build trust,
Hmm.
and building trust takes time. It could be communication. It could be asking the right questions. For example, some people may show up on singing and say, hey, what is it you need? Who called?
Right,
When I show up, I may ask, how can I help? Or I may just
right.
listen because they're going to tell their story or you're going to hear their need once they start speaking. So I believe just asking the right question. And sometimes silent is
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, man. That's one of the things that we talk about too, right? Like silent, like listening, right? Even in any profession, any front facing profession, you listening to the person in front of you gets you a lot farther than you running your mouth, right? And so
mhm.
I feel like especially nowadays, man, like this is where we're at. Especially if you go into these communities, if you talk to people who are trying to turn it around, you talk to people who are trying to have better outcomes. They'll tell you what they need, right? Like the solutions are going to come from within the communities. It's not going to come from outside. So there's definitely the right perspective. So let's talk about one of the programs that you built, man. We're gonna get into a lot because you're into a lot, bro, and I appreciate you. But one of the programs that you talk about was Youth in Blue United. What is that, and how'd you get into that?
Youth in Blue United is a program I started to help bridge the relationship gap between the youth and the police. I started a few years ago and we'll maybe get into it. I was taking my position as a police officer. I'm taking my platform because I believe my platform as a police officer is helping me to reach more and teach more. So that was huge to me. But then I also thought about what I needed as a youth. as a youth, those running. So how can I connect both of them? But in society nowadays, a lot of people saying, us versus them as far as the youth don't like the police don't like the youth. And it's like, no, I'm in the schools where young people are begging for Youth and Blue United, where they want that guidance. They want that mentorship because they don't have that at home. So sometimes they come to school looking for that guidance. And that's what we're here for. So that's what made me start. And the program I love the most that's been most impactful is Ignite Your Purpose, which helps young people discover who they are, where they're going, and their vision. So I think that's been most impactful because I had young people that told me they were failing class. They didn't want to come to school. They wasn't inspired to come to school until I ran my program through that school. And now, they're getting good grades. They're making the right decision. Their parents are calling me or emailing or texting me and showing up differently. And so that's the thing. I believe that if a person is rooted in purpose, they will always walk with intention. And that's what we're trying to do. Ignite Your Purpose. It's giving young people intention, giving them that purpose so they can walk with intentions.
And it sounds like it started out just you, right? And the community reaching out to school. And now you're at a point now where you're recruiting other officers to get into schools too, because the program is building.
Yeah. Other officers, firefighters, I have teachers, I have deans. Also in that, so it's teaching people that we can't do this alone. It's just not police officers. We need other people in the community. So if you're a good person, you're a solid citizen, and you have a story and you're passionate about this work, Youth and Blue United need you on the team because your story need to be told. I always like to say you're the aspirin to someone's headache. How are we going to let them suffer? So your story could be someone else's story right now, and it could change their trajectory.
In your program now is this, are these just like meetings that you're having with kids, or are you meeting them outside of the program, like mentoring that's going on?
Both. So whether it's a church, school, youth-based organization, where the youth are needed, I'm there. But mainly they're out of CPS schools. Peace circles, we sit on peace circles and we just build. We just talk. It's an interactive workshop. I give them thought starters and we just talk. I use this leadership model called inward, outward, and forward. Inward is like we're looking within. Outward, we're connecting, how we connect with others. And forward is that intention and purpose part, what our goals, our aspiration, what do we want to be, who we want to be. That would deplete who we should be hanging out with.
Right, man. And like you said, giving these kids an alternative look, right? Like so often, especially like coming from communities that we come from, right? Like being in these situations, you can only see what you see. I know so many people that we came up with that had never been outside of the city, right? Had never been to, I know people that had never been to the lakefront, right? And like for so many kids, that may be the only thing that they see is, the 4 or 5 blocks that they're always running, man. So having folks, like you said, that have walked that walk, having folks that, have their best interest in mind and showing them these alternatives, teaching them the importance of going to school and getting those grades so you have options, right? Not to say that, college and everything else ain't for everybody, but I mean, it's one of those things that you have options, right? Like you can get out if you want.
Yep. I believe exposure breeds expansion. You can only think what you see. So if I'm only seeing the person across the street and what they're doing, guess what I'm going to become? And a little example of myself is like, my interaction with police, guess what I became? I became a police. That's what I saw. What I've been exposed to more. Again, exposing our young people to more. Yeah, you're exposed to the police, but you're also exposed to teachers, doctors, lawyers, putting them in front of people to show them what they can be.
One of the things that you do outside of that work is you're a writer too, you're an author. Tell us about, the books that you're writing right now and what inspires you to start writing.
So I'm finishing up one book called The Father Effect. So I'm still creating that right now. It's called The Father Effect. So it's talking about the effect of fatherhood and how just the presence of a father is important. I just finished a book with my sons. It's called What to Do with a Dollar, and that's my 11th book. So
wow,
the story behind that is I had some cash on me, so I gave my sons some money, and they said, "Dad, what I'm gonna do with it?" And that sparked my interest. Like, wow, wow, he don't know what to do with a dollar. Okay, how can I explain it to him? So I said, you know what? Let's come up with a storyline. You know, we did about 4 functions. The 4 functions are, you know, spend it, save it, invest it, or donate it. So all throughout that
Mm.
book, they spent it, didn't get any money back from it. They saved it, got a little pennies from it, uh, and then they invested it. So once they invested, they found out like, wow, I got more money on my return. I was able to donate, save, invest, and still able to buy some more ice cream. So just showing them something different. Every book is tied back to my family or it's tied to my personal life. My very first book was Shadows of the Past.
Mm.
To me, that helped me get through what I was going through. I was kind of going through something. And my wife said, babe, you are carrying a lot of weight from your childhood. You should write it down. And I'm like, nah, I'm about to write it down. I'm not about to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But then I had time. I said, you know what? I have time. I said, you know what? Let me get a journal. And I started writing. I started
Yeah.
writing, cleared that journal. After I cleared that journal, I read it. And I'm like, wow, I've been through a lot. And I'm here now to talk about it. What if my story can help save someone else? And
Mm-hmm.
so I turned my storm into a story to help others.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what Shadows of the Past is from. So I just love writing. I love putting my thoughts on paper and helping others because I'm leaving that blueprint for not just my family, for the world, for the future
Yeah.
that's coming behind me.
And that's the thing about it too, right? Like I feel like so much in what we do, I mean, especially when we were coming up, right? Like you're told just to kind of push all that down, right? And we have Mental Health Awareness Month coming up too, and for a lot of that, especially for young African American men, you push it all down and you just keep going, right? You tough it out, right? But that moment that you sit back, right, and like you said, you got a journal, your own personal experience. You were able to read through that story and say, not only am I able to get this out and reflect and see in front of me all that I went through, but how can that story help somebody else? And you'd be surprised how many people you can help with that, who even if you're helping them realize, hey, you can reflect on this too, right?
Yep.
You can do the same process, right? You can
Yep.
open up and not hold it all in, right? So it's good not only for you, for your communities, but it's good for mental health of everyone in our community to do that.
Oh yeah, mental health is important to me. I tell people all day long, respectfully, if you're not seeing a therapist, man, something wrong with you.
Man,
You can't
man.
carry this by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have somebody to not say dump it off on, but you have to give this to somebody, and you can't give it to your wife. You can't give it to your kids. You quote unquote supposed to be that rock. You know what I mean? So again, having my therapist, I've been seeing her for about 5 years, and she's amazing. She helped me become the person I am today, and I thank her for that. And I will never not see therapy because it got
Mm-hmm.
me from a moment. It got me from a moment where I was like, wow, like, man, just out of it to a moment where now I'm purposeful. Now I'm walking with intention. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing things clear.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Like I said, if you coming up in we grew up in communities like it, you got trauma. Just
Yeah,
accept it.
yeah, yeah,
Like you
yeah,
said, like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's the wrong thing to do not to see somebody to help you carry that out. And I love that, especially like I feel like our generation and going forward is more accepting of that. Because trying to tell the previous, like I couldn't even imagine telling some of our coaches in high school that, right? Like them
Yeah,
having that same
right.
mentality, right? But I mean, like that's where we got to go, man. That's how you have to deal with it. You have to treat your mental health like you do your physical health, right? We put a lot of
Yes,
emphasis on you need a primary doctor, you need to take your medications, you need to make sure that you know where your vital signs are. It's that vital sign of your mental health. You got to check in with that too, because all of that is attached to it as well.
absolutely, absolutely. And
Yeah, man.
it's important. You can't just a lot of people use therapy as smoking a cigar or smoking or
Right.
vaping or cheating
Mm-hmm.
or it's so many
Mm-hmm.
things they try to put in place. It's like, man, just get in front of somebody and talk to somebody. You'll be
Right.
surprised. You'll be
Mm-hmm.
surprised. And again, and my therapist kind of helped me come up with something different where I went back to go get certified to be a life coach. You
Mm.
know, so now I'm a certified life coach where I'm able to talk to people and handle situations differently.
In addition, you have programs in entrepreneurship, real estate too, right? Which one of your programs is the one that you feel like you're most proud of right now and the one that's having the most impact?
Yeah, I'll say ignite your purpose. Ignite your purpose because I believe the young people lack purpose. That's why they're out here doing what they're doing. Again, if your purpose is to, I'm going to say, because every young person want to get to the MLB, NBA,
Huh?
so if your purpose is to go there, what's your crowd look like? Who are them?
Mm-hmm.
What are they doing?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, how are you
Mm-hmm.
waking up? What are you doing at now? What do you eat? What are you watching? What are you listening to? All those, all those are key factors. Like how you showing up in school, because how you do anything is how you do everything.
Mm-hmm.
Be mindful of what you're doing. Like, are you staying up late playing video games, or are you getting your rest? Where's your community? And I'm not talking about community outside your home. I'm talking about where's your community inside your home? Your family, your
Mm-hmm.
parents. So it's just again asking those right questions with them to see, okay, show me
Mm-hmm.
that road. Show me those 5 steps to get there.
And that's the thing, right? A lot of lot of folks don't go past that, right? The initial, I'm gonna go to NBA, I'm gonna go to NFL, I'm gonna start a business. It's that path up to it, right? That you have to do, and it's not the kid's fault. They don't know, right? You don't know these steps, and as a child, you're not thinking about it in the front of your mind. You just said, "This is my goal. I'm gonna get there by any means necessary." And a lot of times, for a lot of folks, like those goals. I mean, if you think about, we went to an abnormal high school. We had an abnormal amount of people that went to the NFL, right? Right. So that is not normal, right? But at
Right.
the same time, it's that thing of, if you don't make it, like, right? Like, do you take advantage of the opportunities in front of you? Do you put yourself in a situation that, all right, I didn't make it to the NFL, but I made it to college, and I'm going to do this with the degree that I was able to get. The majority of us who went to college and played in college, that's what we did, right? And so, that's the thing about it. If you're putting in that work, if you're thinking how you're going to get there, one of those steps involved is going to put you in a good position where you can build relationships with people that you can, like Carmichael, that's going to put you in a position that you can achieve your goal, or you can be in a situation where X, Y, and Z person that can get you up there, when you want to get there, right? So it's so important to have programs like that. It's so important to have investment in the community like you're doing.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah,
it's
man.
important because the end goal, right, is say in the NFL. But imagine
Mm-hmm.
the character you got to have behind it, the resiliency,
Mm-hmm.
the discipline behind it. So at the end of the day, guess what? You don't make it to the NFL. Look who you become along the way. So
Mm-hmm.
to hit it on the
Mm-hmm.
head, what you just said, you're absolutely right. So it's like you look at the character you're building along the way. So if you do make it, great. But if you don't, guess what? You still gonna take that same energy and that same focus and put it somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Yep,
call it
you're gonna
having
be.
two plan A's.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, man. And that's the thing. A lot of our coaches, especially in high school and in college too, a lot of them had the mentality of, you're gonna be professional in something, right? And so that mentality that you got to have to get to the NFL, like you said, that discipline, get to the NBA, right? That resilience, have that good community around you, that friend group around you, et cetera. All those things are still going to be important. Like, even if you don't make it to the NFL, right? Even if you don't make it to that level that you want to be, and so those structures that you're putting in place are going to make you successful and going to keep you in that position.
100%.
What structural barriers keep you up at night? In the emergency department, I see people at the worst time in their lives. As a police officer, you see people at the worst time in their lives too sometimes. But are there any structural barriers that you see as barriers that keep you up at night?
The only barrier that comes to mind is if I get taken away too soon, where my I didn't put the right people and the right system in place for this to go on for generations, because I believe this business and mentorship program is important. So me get
Mm-hmm.
taken away before it had been birthed, because I can see this all across the world. Uh, officers are doing this already, right? But it's a different type of purpose that you need to have with this. It's a certain curriculum that I have where it teaches to be a little bit more patient, a little bit more positive, passionate about what you do. Yeah, so I think that's what keeps me up at night. The simple fact that if I get taken away too soon and the vision hasn't been planned, or me putting systems in place to keep this going.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. And for someone, let's say, a kid is out there listening. We got a lot of listeners from all over the city of Milwaukee, all around the country at this point. But for somebody who's listening that feels like they're kind of locked in, right? Like they're locked in, limited by their zip code, limited by their history, limited by their situation. What is some advice that you would give them to push past that?
A quote I live by is, and I made this quote up, is don't let where you from determine who you become. Because a lot of times we get stagnant in, I'm just from here. I'm just this, I'm just that. Don't look at where you're from. Look at who you could become. And I think that's way more important where, again, identifying a purpose, identifying a vision, and know exactly who you need to hang with, who you need to be surrounded by, identify accountability partner. If you do 1% each and every day, that's 365% a year that you're increasing on yourself. So you must value yourself differently. Look at yourself in the mirror. Sometimes you have to give yourself positive affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time we listen to ourselves instead of talk to ourselves. I think we need to do more talking to ourselves, saying I am, so pouring that positive spirit in your life will be very important. And then make a difference when you start talking to yourself and stop listening to yourself.
Absolutely, man. I was just recently on a guest on a podcast, and the way that we closed it out was she asked me a question that I'm going to ask you here. And one of the things is, what would you tell your 16-year-old self if you could go back right now and, you had the DeLorean? What would you say to yourself as a 16-year-old? Because you'd be surprised how effective and how influential that can be on somebody who is in that situation that you may have been in when you were 16.
Man, that's a good one. I'm gonna go back to the affirmation because I didn't start talking to myself until I was an adult. To tell my 16-year-old self, it's telling you're amazing. You can do anything. You're kind. No matter what you've been through, you can be somebody. So just pouring into that young person to let them know what they can become. So that's what I would say to my younger self. Just pouring into them positively.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Well, for our listeners out there, how could they get involved? I'm really looking forward to getting your program in front of some people out here in Milwaukee to see if we can maybe get you up here as well. But how can people reach out? How can they find more information? How can they get their hands on one of your books too?
Yes. So you can go on www.youthandblueunited.org. That's where my website is, and my books are all on Amazon. Like I said, I have about 11 books. You can put Carmichael Lewis in your Amazon account, and all my books will pop up. And especially for the ones that's the teenagers, it's one called The Ultimate Teenager Guide, which is what I run my Ignite Your Purpose book through. I learned that a fair amount of young people are not able to read, so I had to pull the knowledge out of the book. For my adults that's listening, The Gold Mine is a good one. It teaches people how to stay positive in negative situations. You got the mommy and me for the newer moms. You got the daddy and me for the newer dads. So, yeah. But just look on Amazon and name.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. Well, brother Carmichael, I appreciate you, man. It's been powerful. I appreciate you sharing your story, especially growth, the work with teenagers, law enforcement, man, as you're doing all our community. Thank you for doing all that. It definitely matters in what we're doing, man.
Hey, I appreciate you having me, Doctor.
Absolutely, brother. A common thing that we see in medicine as well as any other professional endeavor is if you have someone who is from the communities that they are treating or from the communities that they're working, how much of a difference it makes to engage that community, how much difference representation makes in almost any field you can think of. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring Carmichael on here, because again, we both came from these communities that he has decided to make his passion, to make a difference in it by implementing some of what he has learned, some of what he has been through in order to help the next generation. Policing is one of those fields that we need more representation in from our communities, because there are things that are unspoken in our communities. There are cultural contexts that we need in order to foster that relationship between the communities and the police in order to help facilitate community growth. I know people who have had bad run-ins with police. I've had bad run-ins with police as well, but there's also been some positive with police in growing up. A lot of my coaches in high school were police officers, and they were very clear in telling us how to carry ourselves when we go outside. And so this is the context that Carmichael is trying to teach the next generation. And frankly, this is something that we need to continue to support, not only here in Milwaukee, but all throughout the country. I'm sure a lot of the communities would be receptive of it too. So looking forward to helping to foster any relationship that I can with our common council here, with our state legislature, any way that we can to help get a program like this here in Wisconsin. Looking forward to seeing you all on the next episode. And with that being said, as always, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and if you need me, come and see me.